back to another episode. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb, and today I want to talk about how wealth is not generated by income. It's actually generated by behavior. I want to tell you a quick story about two people. One is somebody who made a lot of money, and the other is somebody who didn't, and how their lives turned out two drastically different ways. Because the guy who didn't make a lot of money ended up having a lot more wealth towards the end of his life than the guy who made a lot of money. So, guy A, we're going to call him John, and this is a true story. This is one of my old friends from college. John got a job in a career that I envy a lot. I really wanted to get in this particular career path. He was able to get into it, and I remember he did not make a lot of money when he first got into his job. He was an associate, so he wasn't like a full-time sales rep, and he lived a very modest life. He didn't make a whole lot of money, probably $50,000, $65,000 a year. And he, again, didn't save a lot of money either, which is fine. When you're not making a whole ton of money, it makes it very difficult to save money. And he bounced around, ended up growing his career, jumping to multiple companies, and ended up getting the opportunity of a lifetime with a very well-established company in a city that he grew up in. Well, he pretty much doubled his income from $60,000 to over $120,000 a year. And I was so happy for this guy because, I mean, he was the real deal. I knew that he was always going to do well in this particular career path based on his personality and his charisma and his charm. And I remember, kind of losing base with him after, probably 4 or 5 years, but ended up hooking back up with him and kind of catching up with him. And I was like, dude, how is work going? How's your career? And he's like, dude, it's been fantastic. I feel like I'm reliving freshman year of college. And I remember, because that's when we met, was like freshman year of college. And I was like, dude, that's fun. That was a fun year. I remember all the stuff that we did, dude. That sounds like an awesome time. I said, how's everything going in other areas other than work? And he's like, oh, well, dude, and mind you, he had bought a new truck. He was living in like the nicest condo complex downtown. He was telling me how, like, for breakfast, he was buying like all these pre-made meals, and how he was eating like protein blueberry pancakes for breakfast, and how awesome it was, and everything's pre-done and made, and how people were coming and cleaning his house, and he had all these delivery services. I mean, this was cool. And then he started complaining about money. He's like, dude, I don't know what it is. Like, dude, I just, like, I can't seem to like save any money. And I was like, I sat there for a second, kind of dumbfounded, because he had just explained all these things to me that were awesome in his life and all the things he was doing. And then he was genuinely perplexed that he hadn't saved money. I'm thinking, what do you mean you don't know why you haven't saved any money? I know that you could have saved money because you literally doubled your income. But the problem was his behavior had not changed. And in order to really build wealth, it takes saving and investing your money, your capital. And if your behavior doesn't change, your spending is just going to grow with your income. Now, I want to tell you a different story. This is of a man, we're going to call him Bob over here, but this is a true story. Bob started working as a cashier in Home Depot back in a very, very long time ago when Home Depot first started out. Well, Home Depot granted stock options to everybody who had been with the company for X number of years, and this includes cashiers. And Bob would always invest in the stock options as he got the opportunity to. Bob did not make very much money, but he would always save just 10% of his income. And as soon as it came into his bank account, he would remove it from his account and just invest it. And he would buy like stocks and other investments. And he lived a very modest life. He always drove kind of like an old beat up junker. He didn't live in terrible areas of town, but he also didn't live in the best areas of town. And he was just known as the cashier. Well, when Bob died at the ripe old age of 92, he left a $9.2 million inheritance to the charity of his choosing. And everybody was absolutely shocked. What in the world? How did he do this? 9.2. How did he do it? Why was he able? How? Like, people were dumbfounded. And the reason Bob was able to do that is because he had the right behaviors to build wealth. You see, it's not income that's going to catapult you to the wealth. It's your behaviors. I know people right now, sadly, that are about to come into a lot of money. I know people who are have come into a lot of money, and they are currently on their way down. They're blowing through everything. They're making bad financial decisions. They do not have the behavior to actually keep wealth, which leads me to one of the interesting books that I read called The Psychology of Money. And one of the big takeaways I had from this book was the thinking or the psychology, call it the skill set that it takes to make money, is the completely different opposite mindset and skill set that it takes to keep it. Think about that for a second. Usually, when you consider making money, this means taking risk, getting loans. That's a big part about making money, a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. And when it comes to keeping money, you have to be very risk averse. You have to be very careful with how you're spending your money and how you're using it. Completely two opposite mindsets. And so successful people have to be able to adopt each mindset with their decision. In other words, they have to be able to pick and choose different perspectives for the decision they're about to make. And it takes adopting this mindset to make this new decision and look at it through this specific lens in order for you to not lose the money. So I know people who have this just one lens, and they've done a good job of making a lot of money, and they've done it and they've accomplished it. But they haven't adopted this other mindset, which is to be risk averse, be very choosy, be very careful, be very slow with your decision-making process. Instead, they're using the skill sets to invest money, taking risks, putting a lot of time and effort into things, really being aggressive and kind of quick decisioned by it. And I've seen people lose it. I know people who are about to lose it. And it just sucks kind of sitting on the sideline because all I can do is be like, hey, dude, you need I can't give them advice, right? Because who really wants unsolicited advice, right? But I've seen this, and it's your behavior that allows you to build wealth and not your ability to produce income. I myself, I've fallen victim to this. I've fallen into really, really good years where I've personally made a lot of money, probably like the top, I'm thinking like 4 or 5% of people my age, maybe even 1%, because I've been in some pretty high tax brackets on good business years. And I kind of went a little bit nuts with the spending. I looked at like the amount of traveling I did and all the juicy steaks that I bought. And I was just kind of like, holy crap, dude, you spent how much money this year? When I looked at my finances, and it took some humility for me to kind of buckle down. And I said, no, we're gonna, I was saving almost half of my income every single year and investing it. And this one particular year, I don't even think I made any investments at all. I literally spent everything that I made. And so that was kind of a wake up call for me. I was like, dude, you have not made an investment in a year and a half. This is a problem. And I had to kind of cut back and get a control of my spending. So anyway, this all to tell you that if you're making a lot of money or you want to make a lot of money, just watch your behaviors and make sure that your mindset that you're adopting for investing your money is different from the mindset that you have from making your money. We'll see you on the next episode.